I start. So, hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks to Christina from Unimed for organizing this webinar. Is one more webinar about our Erasmus project in cross-media journalism. First, I would like to greet the Libyan colleagues, to thank for staying here. I hope you are fine. So welcome. Today we have invited speaker, the Professor Paulo Frias, is our guest speaker. Thank Paulo for accepting our invitation, being here.
Hello.
Maybe it's better to close the microphone. So thank Paulo for accepting our invitation and being with us. Just a few words to introduce our speaker. Paulo Frias has an heterodox background because he's an architect who has directed his interest to journalism multimedia in multimedia context, virtual world, media convergence culture. So it's a pleasure to hear his lecture. Paulo teaches at University of Porto, the biggest university in Portugal, has been collaborating for several years with the most important newspaper in Portugal, the newspaper O Público. Is director of an academic online news platform. The title of his lecture today is Online Journalism in Multimedia, an overview from the classroom to the newsroom practices. I think the topics of this lesson are very relevant to our Erasmus project. I think this is a very useful webinar because seems to take a close look at didactic method and journalistic practices in daily work. So thanks for coming, Paulo. I think we are ready to listen to you. Take your time. For the Libyan colleagues, if they want, can also write their question or comment in chat. Or after you can, by clicking in the symbol of the hands, raise your hands for put on question. So Paolo, if you want, if you are ready, we can start. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thanks a lot for your invitation to be here and to participate with the others with this in this conference or in this little conversation. As Professor Vania mentioned, I'm teaching in the University of Porto in Portugal, especially in the areas of online journalism and convergence and new media. This is more or less my main research areas, and also the classes I give. It's normally about this kind of stuff, of topics. Okay, so today I'm going to try to make a brief presentation about what is our practice in terms of university training, in this case the bachelor degree in the last year where they have a lab of online journalism. So I have to let you know a little bit what kind of projects do you do, and after that to make a little reflection and think a little bit about what is the um, professional practice in some newspapers concerning the joining of um, what is the journalism in these medias normally, and what is the connection or the convergence with the multimedia um, stuff, with the multimedia resources. So sometimes we feel that newspapers and media companies don't match and don't mix too much. Even in 2021, the multimedia results and multimedia material with the old um, practices, editorial options, and formats of the newspapers, of the radios, or the TV. So we will talk about this later. I'm going probably to start with my presentation. I have in the very beginning, I have some considerations about online journalism and about multimedia. So I'm really sorry if for you it could be already something that you work on or that you know, but I have to. I decided to present these concepts first to explain a little bit more what I'm going to say after that. Okay. Of course, during the presentation, if you want, you can raise your hand and you can ask me something or make some kind of considerations if you want. So this is not a one-to-many communication process. So it's a room, and we can participate when you want. Okay. So thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, I think everybody see it. Am I right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so let me okay. So the idea is to talk about online journalism and multimedia. This is a brief overview from what is the practice in the classroom and what is the practices in the newsrooms uh, nowadays, or at least in Portugal. I have already some foreigner examples, so we can think a little bit more in a more broadband. So my faculty is the Faculty of Arts and Humanities in University of Porto, as I said before, where is the bachelor, the master, and the PhD degrees in communication sciences and especially in journalism. Okay, so I will start with two images that probably will be our, how can I say, our way to drive what I'm going to say after that. Okay. So, and the first one is this one, which is the consumption of news in newspapers in probably in a train or in yeah, it should be in a train. So probably in the beginning of last century or 19th century, I'm not sure. So It will be in Britain, I suppose, in Great Britain. And I have another one, which is the same consumption of news. In this case, in different supports, it's not anymore the paper, it's smartphones and tablets and things like that. I'm not sure if they are reading news, not at all, but it could be some of them, okay? In this case, I suppose it is in Tokyo. So, um, okay, both of these images, all those technologies make us antisocial, okay? This is an idea that I put here, but we are not going to talk about the social part of the process, okay? It's just an appointment, but as you can see, everyone in both images are talking with themselves. So there is no communication between people, okay? So they are reading, they are seeing what they want. Okay, so we are you going to talk about technologies? No, we are not going to talk about technologies itself, just like that. Probably the most easier way to explain is that we are going to talk with media. We are going to talk with the support where we have all the information. It does not depend on the kind of technologies that we are going to use. If it's paper, if it's television, if it's radio, if it's online, computers, tablets, and so on. So, I have some pictures here which probably can be interesting to share with you, just to have an idea, but at a glimpse. But anyway, I think that you have this idea already formed in your brains as well. But we can see that, for example, in Great Britain, newspapers and magazines from 2007 to 2020, we have um, consumption and the use of online news. This is the increasing of online news in in digital or in online platforms. Okay, so this means it's 20% to 70%. Okay. So at the same time, for example, in the general election in Great Britain in 2019, we can see that, for example, on TV, people see about 57% um, all news and 50% election news on TV, but what is in the top is online, including, of course, social media. So it's not only newspapers or televisions, websites, it's also social media, but like social networks and so on. But here we have around 70% of all news and news about the elections, 56% in online, okay? We can divide in this case news websites and social media. We can see that in the case of the election news, we have a huge number of people using social media, like 28% and 44% news websites to know information and to accede to information about election news. Okay. At the same time, we have around 72% accessed at least one news website during the campaign. Okay, a news website, 72%, which is Okay, the number is a big one, but we can also see that probably of news content read by the average user per week, the average is around 26 minutes. Okay, here online we have a very interesting particularity because we can measure the time that people are in the website. And for example, if they are using newspapers and reading on paper, we cannot measure that, okay? Because we don't have numbers about when the people is reading and when the people is, okay, talking to a friend or something like that. But now we can, at least we can imagine that when you are online, you are seeing around the average is around 26, 16 minutes in average in each website news content, okay, which is not too much, okay, but the main problem is not um, only this one, is also that only 3% of the people, this 72%, is only 3% is um, the number of the fraction of people spending internet to read about news, because the other 97% they are using internet, but they are not reading news, okay, they are doing other activities. So this is important, of course, because sometimes we don't have the idea, we don't think about what kind of universe we are talking about. And this way we can see that probably the major part of the people are online, but they are not reading news. And we can also see that in the British media companies, what kind of titles do you see that people reach to see specific news related with the campaign? We can see, for example, BBC News in the first place with 44%, but um, we also have the most popular or newspapers like Sun and Mirror. In their websites they have also huge numbers, 31 and 30%. But you can see, for example, um, Huffington Post or New York Times. I know they are American, but they all have British versions, and CNN or even Reuters. They or Reuters, for example, has only 2% in their website with news concerning the the campaign and the election process. Okay. So Huffington Post, Sky News, Times. You see, for example, Times, where his time is 9%, comparing with BBC News. It's a very big difference. Okay. Of course, we have the most reference newspaper here, The Guardian, and we are going to see after the website of The Guardian, but has 29%, which is an interesting number. But anyway, you can see what kind of media people normally know. In this case, use or choose to know things about the campaign. In the other side, we can see that we have the main part of the websites are popular apps like YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Netflix, with some kind of information somehow related with the campaign, okay? And the newspapers or the media, the formal media, we see that the websites of them are in the other part, which means um, almost nobody is considering this kind of titles to of websites to see the information. I mean, Flipboard, Times and Sunday Times, Guardian, Reddit, Sky News, BBC News. So the main part is in the part of the social media platforms. Okay, so here I'm going to present. This is, I didn't say that the source of this kind of information is always Reuters or Statista, which is a very interesting place to go when you want to see numbers and statistics. But here we can see, um, following what Reuters know, that the percentage of using for news, the percentage of users using um, online platforms for news, in this case is TV, in all the, not in all the world, but the parts of the world. You see here Central Europe, here South America, North America, and Central and Australia, and Asia, downs, downside. So you can see, for example, on TV, the spots or the distribution of and the size of the spots are those. Okay, if you go to print, if you go to newspapers, you can see that you have less spots and you have certainly not so big spots. So less people reading newspapers. If you go to radio, um, I think I'm going to, yeah, okay. If you go to radio, you can also see that you don't have almost the same that you have in newspapers. So you see that you have more or less the same amount of points, and the dimension of the spots is the same. But if you go to um, online, you see that, including social media, you can see that these spots are much bigger than the others. Okay, so this means that there are much more people seeing this kind of information in online and also in social media. Okay, here I didn't show only social media, but this is the sum of websites, media websites, and social media. So it's much different than the others. Even from television to online, we can see that the online has a very important presence to get all this information related with the campaign. Okay, so multimedia. We are talking about multimedia. We will try in the next slides try to understand a little bit what we are talking about and the connection between this and the journalism. Okay, um, multimedia and the computer in general, the computer mediated communication, the so-called CMC, drives us to the so-called online journalism. Okay, here in Portugal and in Portuguese and in Spanish, normally we have a different word to talk about this kind of journalism, which is cyber journalism. We don't use the English expression to talk about journalism. I still prefer online journalism, even if I'm when I'm talking in Portuguese, I say online journalism than cyber journalism, because I suppose that, for example, cyber journalism it's much more related with something that it's the cyber culture and the cyberspace, and I think online journalism it's is more direct, is more related of this kind of journalism, which is digital, of course, but it's not only digital. It's digital, but it is in the web, is online. Okay, so I think it's for the moment, it's a very important, a very more significant way to talk about the journalism online. Okay, so here I'm going to mention, I don't know if this is new for you. I'm quite sure you have already talked about this. I try to sum topics from different authors. At the end, I will give some references about these authors, but this is not just one person that say what I'm going to say after that. But I try to sum up the most important dimensions of what people think they are engaged in the online journalism or can define the online journalism. Um, One thing, of course, is the multimediality. It's the possibility to use multimedia resources. When we are talking about multimedia, well, we are talking about, of course, sound, images, video, illustration, and so on. So it's multimedia. This is one important topic, multimediality. The second one is hypertextuality, which is the possibility to use the text linked with other texts or with other pictures or with other videos. So we have a text is not anymore a closed one, a very um, unique text, but it's a text that it's spread with other kind of sources. It's a very big discussion in journal in media and in media companies, in newspapers, for example. It's can we use hyperlinks, hypertext for other websites or for other media websites, or we are going to use hypertext only for our own website. In the very beginning, everybody make hyperlinks just for their own website. Okay. Nowadays, with I think that probably if you want to give a very interesting public service, and also to inform your readers and your um, consumers, probably it's much more interesting if you can link your text to other sources, because sometimes you talk about one concept, about one company, about one idea that probably it's much more better explained in other contexts, and you don't have time to explain it at all, so you just put a link and then you drive the people to other platforms. It's much more useful, easy, and cheap. So there are many reasons to do this kind of things. And it's a very important exercise to choose where are the words or the expressions where you are going to put an hyperlink, for example. Okay? Interactivity, of course, because this is the ability to interact with the your readers. Um, in fact, there are no readers exactly in the sense that we used to use the words sometimes ago. because, as you know, we are not talking anymore about a broadcast um, model, but we are talking about one-to-one process. This means that the contents are made exactly for this kind of public, or for this kind of people, or this kind of person, and this person can interact with the media. Okay, you can make comments, for example. You can ask something. You can send an email. You can, in some cases, you can chat as well. So this kind of interaction, it's also a very particular um, dimension of the online journalism. We also have, of course, the convergence in the sense of the sum of many types of media. As I mentioned before, we can see that there is a convergence process in crossing and summing, for example, text with audio, with the video, and so on, with infographics, for example. So there is a convergence process around the online journalism. We have also the question of time, space and time, but in this case, we are talking about time. We are talking about the instantaneousness. It's a very difficult word to say, but it's something related with the possibility that you have to publish and to edit in the very short time, in an instant. You can change something. For example, sometimes we edit and we publish news, and for example, you have an error, or you can change something, and you change it in 2 seconds, and this is anymore the same new because you change it. Okay, or something happen in your city and you want to report this kind of um, I don't know, of situation, and you can do it almost in the same time that it's happening. Okay, even if no one goes there, because you can have information from other sources and you can publish directly in the same instant. Okay, the other notion is which is very interesting, is the question of the idea of ubiquity, because this is an ubiquitous uh, communication and process, because you can see almost, you can find and you can feel that probably you are everywhere. Okay, so this is the sense of um, to be whenever you want, because despite you are, for example, in Italy, at the same time you don't have these geographic barriers and problems. And for example, you can are making news and and writing news, or do some kind of contents about something happening, I don't know, in Brazil, for example. So the idea of this kind of distance, geographic distance, as mentioned, for example, by Manuel Castells, he talks about the kind of the flows, um, is very important, because the communication in this kind in this nowadays is ubiquitous. So you can, on in online journalism as well, you can be wherever you want. Okay, with no problems. You don't have to travel and so on. Another trend um, which is not so, it's more a very new one, it's a trend, is the question of personalization. So it's when the contents and when the news um, are made specifically for someone, okay? So you have so many information online about everyone that probably you can specifically write your new to this person, not only to this city, not only to this um, country. No, you can choose and you can specifically write to this person because you know a lot about it. Okay, about him or about her. So, for example, if you see, uh, I know so much through social media, through the digital fingertip that all of us have online. I can, for example, and we have already made some experience about this. You can prepare your contents specifically for the one person that, for example, like too much sports, for example. So you like sports, I give you sports. Or you like sports, I give you my first page or the home page of my website will be mainly sports because it's what you want. So the possibility or the probability for you to like my website will be better if you have what I like. Okay, so in this case, you don't have to make, for example, a newspaper, all the newspaper. You don't have to do it the same way. So you can change your homepage, your website for different people. Okay, because you have groups, for example, people, I don't know, let me say something silly. People with blue eyes and with more than 1 meter and 17 centimeters high. These kind of people I'm going to share and I'm going to publish contents just for this kind of people. Of course, this is a silly situation because you don't have this kind of people like a target, okay? But you can choose your target not anymore with a huge group, but to one person. And this is important not only in journalism, of course, the marketeers work on this a long time ago, but in journalism we start to see also that the contents are, and the trend is that the contents are much more to one person. It's a one-to-one communication instead of the model of the broadcast one. We have the opposite, which is the one-to-one. Okay, in the middle, if you want, we have the social media model and the network model, which is many to many. Okay, and here in the other side, we have a one-to-one communication. Okay, we have also the question of the memory, which is very, very, very important because um, when you publish and with the possibility to have your homepage and your history in your browser, you also can form and you also can um, archive and you also can share your memories and you can also train your memory and you have all your information um, at the same time archived in the history of your browser, for example. And the notion of memory in this case is very important because you can go back and um, in both sides. You can see what you saw before, and you can see what you can see tomorrow, or what are you seeing today. This is important to compose a notion of memory which is much more richer, if you want. So, and now here we have the journalist, okay? Finally, we have the person, we have the journalist, and I have these images just to know, just to share with you some very simple ideas, but to also to emphasize that how important is the online um, environment, okay, for media and for journalism. So here we have the journalist, usually working for newspapers, radio, or television. Okay, um, the media companies normally, uh, okay, media companies can have all of them, of course, in terms of economic power, but I'm talking that normally there is a newspaper, there is a radio, and there is a TV channel, and they can be connected in terms of ownership or not. But this person, the journalist, is able and it's trained to use or to publish or to write contents to newspapers, writing, or to radio, speaking, or to television, which is, of course, probably all of them right, but the final result, it's an image, or is a voice, or is audio, or is text. Okay, but now we have the online support. Okay, and I put um, it's not a coincidence. I put here a smartphone because you know that one of the trends and the more important trend topics in nowadays is that the consumption of online news is made mainly in smartphones. I mean, the smartphone is, which is a very individual um, object. It's the more important support to the consumption of news. Okay, not anymore the computer, the laptop, the tablet, but the smartphone. The smartphone is like an extension of your body. It can be with you everywhere, in the metro, or you are walking on the street, or you are running in your sport training, and you can have the smartphone because it is not so big, and it can be with you, and you can read information and see journalistic contents contents. You can consume them in your smartphone. Okay, for example, these contents on TV can be at the same time in the smartphone. It doesn't have the object, the TV itself. Okay, so this means uh, what can uh, the journalist do with this kind of situation? Um, does she has to does she have to write to the newspaper on paper and also to the smartphone? This is a question. Yes, of course. She has to. So the former way to write to a newspaper is totally different from the way writing to the smartphone. Remember, for example, the hyperlinks. The hyperlinks, you cannot use them in a newspaper on paper. You cannot use, for example, videos. You cannot use, for example, audio. And here, these journalists normally able to write to this newspaper is nowadays as a new challenge, which is make a speech and write for other media, okay? A multimedia platform, which is the smartphone and the online platform of the newspaper. It's the same with the radio. She's normally able and she likes a lot to work on the radio. Okay, but at the same time, the radio has an home page. So you have to have contents in the home page. So you have to use other um, kind of contents to share and to publish the contents that you have in the radio. For example, it's very interesting because I found it very nice because normally I used to listen to radio channels, for example, and I know the voice of the people. Okay, for example, I know the voice of the journalist Vania Baldi. I know it very well because I know the kind of voice he has. Okay, nowadays, what it happens, it's in some programs these journalists do are in the smartphone and there is the image of Vania Baldi. And I have no idea in this situation if he's old, he's younger, he's blonde or black eyes. I have no idea. And in this step, when you go to the online, sometimes you have the image of the journalist, and this is very important for the journalist and also for his training because he has to have a, a training not only to talk in the radio where no one is seeing the image, but he has also to have a position. He has to know where he's going to put the ends. Normally, the students they never know where they put the ends. So, like this, okay, I'm not. I have to show all my body, but um, they are like this, or you talk with the hands. This is a very important way to talk. This is the extraverbal communication, okay? So when you are using your hands, for example, if you work on radio, it doesn't happen. But if you have an image, it happens, of course. Online, sometimes there is an image, okay? The same on TV. For example, on TV, they are not very um, uh, how can I say, it's not able. They are not. This is not the practice. It's not to write news, for example, um, on with letters. Okay, they have they have to write, of course, but they have a speech. They speak, and everybody see what they are speaking. Nowadays. For example, I remember a newspaper here in Portugal, which is Correio da Manhã, which is they have a TV channel and they have a newspaper. Okay, and the journalist who is working in this media company has to do in first place when he came, for example, from a report, he make the new for the newspaper, and after that, after write this new, he's going to do uh, the same new for TV channel, okay? But it's the same person who do the both things, okay? which is complicated. For example, our students in internships in this channel, they often say that, oh, it's difficult because we have to write a new, and after that you have to reformulate this to go to the TV because I'm going to show it on TV and so on. So they have to have images, sounds, everything. And these contents, of course, they are also going to be used in the homepage or in the websites, okay, of the company. So um, here, normally on the newspapers, we have text, we have photos, we have static infographics, for example. On radio, we have mainly the question of the sound. And on TV, we have video, we have sound, we have static and sometimes dynamic infographics. They are important also to show information. But the mainly um, resources that you have on TV is video and sound. But if you go to the smartphone and to the online journalism, you have all of them and more than those that I mentioned before. You have text, you have the hypertext, in or out. This is the problem. If you have an hyperlink to my website, or if I have an hyperlink to other websites, if it's important to have or not, okay? You have the hypertext, you have photos, you have dynamic photo galleries, for example. You have photo galleries with sound. You have static or dynamic infographics, sound, of course, video, interactive graphics, where you can try to find the information in a kind of, I don't know, in a video or in an infographic. You can yourself choose what kind of information are you finding, and and it's more interesting for you. You have data journalism, of course. You have kind of journalism made with numbers, for example, made with a huge amount of information, and you have to deal with this. And you have, in this sense, you have also to have some um, skills that normally journalists don't use to develop these kind of skills, which is deal and work with data, with numbers, with big numbers, okay? Of course, you have contents for social media, for example, stand-up, stories, photos. This is the stand-ups. We always do this kind of stand-ups in our academic websites because it's a very interesting way to students to train the stand-up situation, you know, talking for someone. And it's very useful also to train the question of the language, the position of the body, and so on, and to share in social media platforms very short kind of information of news. Okay, so you can do it in a very useful way. I can say that probably, oops, these this year or this year is the first year that we have stories every day. So we have a new that we choose from our website, and this new we have always a story in Instagram, always. So every day you have one story in Instagram for one new, which is the most important new of the day, for example. Okay, and this is um, audiovisual, so you can see the student in this case uh, giving you the new in 30 seconds. Okay, you can have photos, of course, it's important, and so on. So It's a kind of menu for classroom in online journalism. um, I I try to put it together, this kind of things, because it's exactly what we try to train in the classroom in online journalism. So now I'm going to drive to the more practical situations. I don't know if you have any question right now, and I have to drink a little bit.
Yes, Paulo, we have some questions.
Okay.
If you want, I can read for you.
Yes, please, Vanya.
So we have at the moment one question from Jessica. Okay,
Uh-huh.
is about, I copy paste, about your advice for managing an online news platform. What are the advantages and disadvantages for the news managers, as well as the news team reporter when dealing with online journalism platform? So is the last question you
Sorry,
read.
Vanya.
See,
I didn't understand exactly what you mean.
is about the managing, the manager. Do you think that the academic online news platform can have more impact than other news source? Is the question.
More impact than the.
Then, so what moment? The news source. Outras
Outras fontes.
fonte.
Sim. Um, uh, you mean, I don't know if I understand exactly the question, but the question is to know if the academic news website could be more interesting than other sources.
Paulo?
Yes, Vanya.
Sì.
No, I think that it's another source, just another one. What?
Yes, I didn't understand the meaning of the question, Jessica. Is about the.
If you want to explain the question in Portuguese, for example.
No, is oh yeah, aqui in chat. What's your advice for managing online news platform?
Is in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, I don't see in the chat. Jessica, no.
With the last question.
The last question is from Mohammed, no?
Yes, yes.
I don't have the Jessica one. Okay. What is your advice for managing an online news platform?
It's a big question, but
Okay, it's a very big question. Probably I don't have an advice. I can have. Okay, I'm not so experienced on that, but I have many advices. Um, Probably it could be more clear if we can advance and we can see the practical situations, because I think that we can understand a little bit better the question. Okay.
okay.
um, okay, I don't know, I can ask, for example, other questions if you want right now.
See, it's about the legislation. If it's the
Okay.
same in the context of digital or in the context of paper publication.
Yeah, in the question of legislation, we have the same legislation in terms of ethic, in terms of deontology in general for journalism, and they had some specific topics related with the online journalism, because online there are some kind of problems that normally don't uh, appear in the newspaper on paper. So the question of legislation now, in fact, it's complicated because we don't have fixed legislation about that. Very a very finished legislation about that, because everything is changing, and sometimes you appear with the news and one way or in another way, and there is a legal problem that appears that you didn't imagine that it will be like that, so you have to change the legislation. So um, um, but more or less, I think most like the other countries, we apply in general the legal normatives that we have for newspapers. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I have here. What about control? Somaya, I don't know what is the question exactly. Probably this is not a question.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I sent my question.
You
Okay,
changed
well,
your question. What are the precedents that controls the work of electronic journalism? Most countries apply the laws for paper publications to websites.
Yeah,
It's the same question, isn't it?
clear, I think, question, or you can to explain.
Sorry?
A clear question, my question is clear, or I want to explain it again, or no?
No, it's
You
clear.
want to?
It's clear.
Okay. Gracias.
I don't know if the answer was clear.
in the digital context, the legislation is in constantly progress.
Yeah.
So is I think no, I don't know, Paolo, but is the same from on the sides, but at the same time changing constantly.
Yeah. The problem is that we have, okay, the core of the of the legal problems of the
Privacy problems, for example,
sorry?
the privacy problems.
Yes, the privacy is one of them, but the privacy is engaged, if you want, in the discussion we have here in Europe now, right now, which is the RGPD, which is the discussion of the spread information everywhere, and if you have to have other kind of legislation to control the information. So this is a complicated question. I think that the core of the legislation is the same that we have for the newspapers and for the TV and so on. But we have exceptions, but they are changing. They are changing very, very often. When you have a problem, normally everybody discuss about this, and there are something, at least if you don't have a legislation, you have, for example, a suggestion to change this way. Here in Portugal, we have, how do you say it? We have an institution, we have with and this responsible to control this kind of things, okay, of legal things. So sometimes we have suggestions, for example, to change some particular situations related, for example, with I don't know, with the properties of a photo or a text or things like that, okay? And you have to change it. So
Okay.
probably I follow my
Okay.
presentation.
Okay.
It is important to have a community manager profile for online journalism platform. Okay, it's a very good question from Julnar. Um, it is important to have normally in the, I don't know, 20, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, probably, it is very popular that news media always have a kind of guy, you know, the guy which is the guy of the communities of the social media, and he's the manager of the communities. So he's in charge to put all the posts in Facebook, in Twitter, in Instagram, for example. On that time, it doesn't exist, but anyway, um, um, it was very normal that it happens. Nowadays, in our how can I explain this? In our back office, I mean the website. Normally, you know, we work in the back office that will be published in the front office, which is the home page and the other pages of the website. And in our back office, we have already some fields where you can write in the same time, at the same time, where you can write what it's going to appear, for example, in Facebook or on Twitter, which has a limit of characters, for example. So in this case, the image of this community manager, it's more, or this kind of profile of the community manager is not so strong as he used to be in um, the last decades. Okay, so because the journalists themselves, they're also concerned about what is going to happen in social media platforms, and it's fair, and it's a very important way to do it, because sometimes the profile community manager is not able to understand the news themselves, and so he's going to make some texts to social media platforms, and those texts, they don't are correctly written for this kind of platform. Okay.
Paolo, from my side, I can put a question.
Okay, so I follow, and after that I come back to
Your presentation.
to the conversation. Okay, so this could be the menu, as I mentioned, for a classroom in online journalism. Okay, so the discussion that I'm going, or the more important question that I would like to put in this session, is the problem that, for several reasons, not only economic ones, because normally it's for economical reasons, but for economic reasons, political, sometimes social, cultural in general, the online versions of news media tend to be produced online, anchored or very connected with the type of media from which they come from. So this means that um, for those kind of reasons or others. For example, a newspaper, when goes to the website, has some kind of presentation and some kind of contents very connected with what they have for paper. It's the same with the televisions and it's the same with the radios. Okay. So, but the online platforms, even the digital native ones, so the platforms that were born in the digital media, the digital era, all these platforms tend to follow a kind of shovelware. I mean, the shovelware, I don't know if you know the term, but do you remember when the newspapers, what I put in the internet is a kind of PDF of the paper. So what I do is to um, how do you say it, to digitalize what I have on paper, and they put the PDF online using mainly the type of resources they have in their offline versions. All the rest, text, infographics, videos, audio, is very often accommodated in a kind of multimedia menu. That's what we are going to see. Okay. So it's a kind of, I have the text, is the typical situation. I have the text and I have all my sections, politics, social, society, for example, culture, international, and so on. I have the text, this kind of division. And after that, I have the multimedia one. What do you have in the multimedia? All the rest. If you have a video, you put in multimedia. If you have audio, you put in multimedia. So it's a strange situation. In a short advice for my students, I used to say that all the reports for a news website are potentially multimedia. So, in my humble opinion, what I think is that when they go outside to the streets and to in the city, when they want to see something and to report something, they have to have with them the camera. It could be, for example, with a smartphone. There is no problem. Okay, so even with a smartphone, they have to capture video, they have to get some audio, they have to take some photos, and they can also write on a paper some kind of notes to write some text when they come back to the newsroom. But but if they want, if they want, if they have all this information, text, video, photos in different formats, sounds, for example, photos in different forms, you can use, for example, with the smartphone, you know, the time lapse format. It's very interesting in websites because it works very well. Sounds, numbers, even if they only have a smartphone. We never know how we are going to use such information. It depends of our own editorial option, of course. So, but in a case of a new or a report that you say, oh, here, this is important to have image. And you say, oh, I forgot to record some kind of images. I don't know anything. I don't have with me, not photos, no videos. I just have sound and text. Oh, okay, we have a problem. Because the most wanted situation is that we have, for example, video for a situation. I have here an example. This is not our academic news website, which is for the bachelor degree and also for the master degree and also for the PhD. All the students that want to cooperate with our news website can send or can talk with the editor to propose a kind of material to be published in the website, okay? But this is not the case because this is an example of an academic site from the first semester in the course of journalism, the lab, the journalism integrated lab, the part online, because we also have TV, radio, and newspaper and paper, and but I'm in charge of the part of the online, and I want to share with you this newspaper, okay? Oh, this is a news website. In fact, what we have here, if you are engaged already with the development stuff, we can develop this in WordPress, we can develop this in other platforms, but in this situation where they have only 3 months, they did it all of them in Wix, which is this platform, okay? So it's a very simple one, and this this website in particular, I think it's very clear and clean, and I can show a little bit what I want to show. For example, in the top of the home page, they have they have uh, headline, if you want, about a big report that they made about the politic made by women, okay? And they did this on paper. So the question is, how can they want to put this always also in the website? How can we do it? Are we going to do it like in paper? Because on paper, it's about 6 pages of text. So how can you put 6 pages of text in website? It's impossible to read it. No one is going to do it. So what they did is that they make the website, and at the same time they capture. I'm sorry, it's not working. I don't know why. Oh, I have here a problem, and I'm sure it's because I'm sharing the. Let me see just one thing. Okay. So I have to go here, but I don't have a link to go here. Why? Okay, I'll show you later. What they decide is to they write the text, but at the same time they have also audio and video from some women that are engaged with on this case with the election that we have for the president, okay? But anyway, what is important is that they don't have only text, they have sound, and they change with these kind of resources. I can show you, they also have here the menu, which is very interesting because they put the menu, it's not the entire menu. They have some section, politics, science and technology, culture, and they have more and more. They have society, economy, sports, and opinion. For example, society, let me show you one example that I think it's interesting, which is For example, this. Okay. We have here manifestação. Vânia, esqueci-me como é que se diz manifestação em inglês. So here we have a movement because, as you know, we are in lockdown, and this is a very important thing. All of this stuff was made. Sì, Vania.
Demonstration, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Was made not in the same place because we are at home, okay? I am at home and all of my students in this case were also at home. So we talked in Zoom and we tried to manage and to deal everything on distance, with distance. The only problem is that the part of the video was it was not so strong because sometimes they don't have the possibility to go to the street and to record the video and so on, okay? They can make videos on Zoom, for example, but it's not the same thing. And in this demonstration, which is a movement that it's trying to convince to change the lockdown about the restaurants, they have a demonstration in the center of the city, and the students made a new report about this with text, with hyperlinks, with photos, okay? But it's a very, how can I say, it's a very strong image. They have a lot of photos about the demonstration, but they don't have a video about the demonstration. It was a mistake or something happened and the video is not very good. So we suggest to make this kind of thing with photos and audio. You see? Because the sound here is very important. You are going to see. So you can see that in this example, the power of the message that we have here, we have a lot of photos. Okay, you can do, for example, a photo gallery. But if you put the audio, which is available, it's totally different. You can have a kind of immersion in the situation, and you are able to understand much better what they did in the street in this demonstration, okay? So we have here also the mayor who talked about the problem, and okay, this is one example. Okay, let me go to another one that is, I think, in culture. Okay, here we have in culture a very interesting for example, here they have the new about the a concert, and they record, they have many videos about that. The problem is the question of the lockdown and about the culture and the concerts that they don't have, and always the streamings and things like that. And they went to do a concert with a video made by them. You see the logo? This is not. Okay. Okay. And this is the resources they use to. They have here also another video, but this video is from the author and is not a video made by them. Okay. And they use very often also the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebook um, pages just to share what kind of images and things and posts the authors published in the social media platforms. Okay. Um, let me see just another example. Let me go to I'm trying to see one okay, they have also developed themselves some kind of visual information which is behind the photos that can get in on the street, which is the information about infographics. Okay, here is the election in Iceland that we have, which is Açores, and the division of the parties. For example, this party was 2 people, 25, 1, 21, and so on. So it's a bit interactive. But if you want to compare, for example, with the last elections, we can compare very easily. For example, the Socialist Party has 30, and in 2020 has only 25, and 2012 have 31. Okay, and those kind of things where you can toggle, for example, the Socialist Party and to see what happened if they don't have here. Okay, so you can manage this kind of information, for example, about the absence in the same elections, where you can see in a timeline how changed the absence in the elections that we have from 1975, which is the first time where we can vote after the revolution. Okay, so this is a very, 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 very easy platform and tool that and free of charge that students can use, for example, to present information. Okay, without this is important, without programming. Okay, so this is very intuitive. You can do it easily graphically. No HTML, no not any kind of programming language. So it's very interesting because they, let me see, because I'm trying to see the audio, but I don't find right now a piece of audio. I don't remember when they put them. Okay. So this is an example of, oops, não, interromper compartilhamento, não, it's here. Okay. 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 The other platform that I told you before is an academic news website for all the students in the bachelor and master, okay, and also the PhD. It's called JPN, which means Journalism Porto Net, and it's online all the year, but there are some periods where we have internships of our students of the last year that of the bachelor, and in this case we have more information because there are many people working on. So this is our homepage right now. Okay, we have in the homepage something we did yesterday, which is very important for us because our team of handball will be in the Olympic Games in Japan, because yesterday we won to France. Okay, it was interesting, but so this is the home page. Here we have all the sections. If you scroll down, we have all the sections. You see sports, world, and so on. But we also have here the idea of the sections. And if you mouse over, you can see also the most important news in each one. Okay. So if you go to Porto, it's news about the city. You will see all the information about all the news that we have about the city. Okay, here is new about this building, which is a market that will be rebuilt, and I'm trying to. Okay, this is typically what we use with SoundCloud, which is free of charge. So you have to record the sound, and after that you can put it in SoundCloud, and you can embed it in your.
O plano de desconfinamento foi apresentado esta quinta-feira pelo governo. O JPN saiu à rua para saber a opinião dos portugueses. Apesar da maioria dos entrevistados estar satisfeita, há várias sugestões no ar. Maria João Silva acredita no cumprimento das regras, mas sugere uma alteração nas...
Okay. There are many voices. It's just to explain that, for example, this is a vox pop. Okay, typically they go to the streets and they do a vox pop with video and with audio. In this case, they didn't made the video, and they decided to made only a vox pop with the audio. Okay. This is an example with the audio, and let me see. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. This is the architecture, if you want, of the site. So we have the sections, and we have the contents that are in the sections. Okay, so but let's see another thing. If we go, for example, to okay, if we go, for example, to presentations, so if you go to the next site, you see, for example, Observador is a digital native newspaper in Portugal, so is always online. Okay, so it's a news site in Portugal. It's always online. If you see, they have all the sections here. Of course, they have contents, but they have all the sections here, and they have somewhere videos and programs. So what's happening? It's that this is not so clear in Observador, but we will see later. Some videos are inside the news, but they feel the need to create a section named videos. This means that you remember the multimedia stuff. Okay, let's put there the multimedia stuff, but it's more clear in other situations. For example, Público, which is the one of the reference Portuguese newspaper, and it's very important one. They have an online version, of course. They have also the menu, which is here, but you can also see everything: politics, society, local economy, world, culture, sports, and so on, and multimedia. If you go to multimedia, what you are going to see is videos, audio, infographics, but those material, the multimedia, they are already in the middle of the news of the other subjects. You understand what I mean? So why do they have to create a multimedia section? Is it so important to have a multimedia section if you have already spread all your multimedia stuff on the news? There is someone who just want to see the multimedia stuff? I doubt, because sometimes the multimedia is connected with the text there is in the middle of the news. So it's not so important to separate. Okay? But I have many examples. For example, the Washington Post. The Washington Post, they have a menu, okay? And they have, for example, a menu for video. And in the case of video, they have top news, business, entertainment, local, national opinions, politics. Okay, all the sections they have on video. So in this case, they make the division in another way, because they put the menu with photography, podcasts, video, crosswords, live chats. So this is the language the languages they can have. Okay, and after that they divide here by subject. Okay, is another way. As I mentioned before, you see, the Washington Post is one of the websites that it's more connected with the former, or the former, no, because it still exists, the paper version. Okay, you can see also in the type of letters and so on. So I'm just Wall Street Journal, for example, as I don't have here okay, this is all the menu with the subjects and video here and podcasts, multimedia stuff. Okay. No, this is not what I want to do. I'm sorry. Okay. If you see The Guardian, for example, The Guardian, they have all the subjects and then more video, podcasts, pictures, sliders, newsletters. Those kind of things, video, posts, pictures, they are already in most parts of the news they have here. You understand what I mean? So this is the question. Okay, I have here also some references. Probably, I don't know if I can. Yes, we are going to share it through the video. Am I right? Yeah. So you can see later some references about authors that talked about this kind of immersion in journalism and so on. So you can, if you have any doubts, you can also contact me later. Thank you very much for your attention. Now probably we can discuss a little bit some questions that probably have. I'm sorry if
Thank you.
I'm too boring, but let's wait
Okay.
for your opinions or questions. Okay.
Thank you for your speech, Paulo.
Can I stop the share to share the
Yes, you can
presentation?
stop, and after, if you can send us the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Okay, if it's possible. So, thank you for your speech, Paulo. I forgot before to say we have today our colleagues, Libyan colleagues, are connected from 4 cities: Misurata, Tripoli, Sirte, and Zaiwa. And we have one question from Ali Farfar. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Professor Paulo Frias for the interesting presentation he made. And my question relates itself not to the presentation itself, but to something else that deals with the structure of the journalism and communication field. Because here, at least in the 4 universities that have been mentioned, 4 Libyan universities, we are trying to restructure the journalism and communication field in a more developed structure. So what I did before the lecture, I tried to go through the website of Porto University to see how you yourselves structure the journalism and communication field. And I found out that what you do there is called Communication Sciences, Journalism, Public Relations, Multimedia Program. And this is for bachelor and master's program as well. So my question is, communication sciences. So you deal with communication not as one science, but you with the subdisciplines, but you consider it as a comprehensive topic for many sciences that are adjacent to it or added to it. So I would like to ask about that question. And if you deal with multimedia includes journalism and could include also public relations. So why do you have this differentiation between public relations, journalism, and multimedia in this context? Am I clear?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. and thank you for your question, because it's interesting. I can explain quickly. We have here I'm from the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, but our course, is shared with also with the Fine Arts faculty, with Engineering faculty, and with the Economic faculty. Okay, so we have broadband view about communication sciences. Of course, the area of communication sciences is not limited to journalism. Okay, so in the case of the bachelor, what we have, it's 2 or 3 possible how do you say, 3 possible specialized students when they finished. And this means that they have in the 2 first, yes?
Yes, I.
Okay. In the the first years, they have the same courses, and in the last year, they have to choose between journalism, public relations, and multimedia. But this multimedia is not the multimedia that I was talking in my presentation. So in multimedia, they try to develop, it's much more the programming, it's much more the graphic design, it's things related with the development of more technical and artistic contents. Okay, so if the students want to go to the classes in these 2 first years, and after that they want to specialize in multimedia, they go there. If they want to make institutional communication, not journalism, but communication from companies, mm, not marketing, not exactly marketing, but a lot of the part of the marketing, which is the public relations, they go to this branch of the public relations. Okay, and the most part of the students go to the branch of journalism, and in this case we have different courses as well. Okay,
How is the situation for the master's and PhD program?
the situation for the master, it's different. In the master, we have a master in communication science as well. The name is the same, but we have different branches. But in this case, it's from the beginning. We have, in the case of media and journalism, we have studies of media and journalism. So the idea is to have an overview and to study scientifically the problem of the media and journalism. So it's not exactly the practice of journalism, it's to study the journalism. Well, another branch is about culture, and the other one is about politics, political communication, cultural communication, and media studies, media and journalism studies. Okay. In the case of PhD, we have a PhD. Okay, in Oporto we work with 2 PhDs, but all of them are already connected, have already names related with the digital media or media and technology or things like that. And in the case of the PhD, we have a very different kind of students with different backgrounds. Someone are from technologies, the others are from music. So it's different. It's the PhD. It's a different thing. Okay, Ali, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. It's all clear. Thanks.
You are welcome.
Thank you, Heli. I don't know if we have more questions or final remarks, comments.
I have one from Julmar here. What about organizational communication? Do you have a specific program for these people? Okay, okay. That's what I said before. We have a branch in the bachelor related with public relations, related with organizational communication. As you know, it's a kind of subject in the field of communication sciences that it's much more related with the publicity, the propaganda, and this kind of stuff, marketing and so on. Okay.
Mhm. Paolo, only one question from my side. The main point for me is interesting to reflect about if we have skills that don't suffer from obsolescence, because we live in a context of accelerated technological transformation. So sometimes the skills for journalists seems constantly precarious. So the question is, is a question to manage many skills at the same times. The journalist must be a polyjournalist and performer in the field of journalist, or they have to have an attitude for change, because as the transformation are constantly in updating. So the question is, we have skills that don't suffer obsolescence, are constantly useful. Mm.
What do you mean with attitude for change?
Attitude for change.
What do you mean?
Okay. The capacity, be able to have skills.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Huh?
the big problem is that, and you know it very well, Vania, because you live here, but you know that some newspapers in the last years reduce a lot the newsroom, okay, because they kept out some old journalists, but specifically for two reasons. One, because they are very expensive. They are old journalists, they earn too much, and if they go outside, probably they can change one journalist for 10 young journalists. Okay, this is one reason. And the other reason is that because probably they don't have the attitude for change, and probably they don't know how can they, for example, adapt the speech and the things they do for example, the online version, let's say. That's what are we talking about. And it's incredible because I try to be always update, and I have all kind of applications that it's possible to have, that I heard from my students, because it's happening, it's always happening, you know. TikTok, okay, let's go to TikTok. For me, I don't care about TikTok, but I have to know what is TikTok, okay? So and TikTok, what it's the advantage of TikTok? Oh no, the advantage is not exactly a specific one, but we have the kind of of static of TikTok is now, for example, in Instagram. If you go to the stories of Instagram, you have a lot of contents related with the TikTok language, if you want. And for me, it's interesting to know what they do, because it's not exactly because my journalists are going to do the same way. No, but they have to know that it's possible to do it. For example, last week I installed in my smartphone a new one, which is Clubhouse. Clubhouse, sorry?
Another tools for audio.
Yeah,
no?
another two. And this Clubhouse, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Um, I think there is only for iPhone. Am I right? I don't know if you know, but I think it's only for
Oh,
iOS. It will be for Android as well, but in this moment for iOS, it's incredible because you don't know the people. It's a chat platform, application. You don't know the people, but you go inside and you see that they prepared a lot of conversations because we are locked down, and this is very useful. So you can see things about marketing, you can see things about journalism. For example, yesterday I was talking with other people I don't know, but about journalism from everywhere in the world. So you can see in English, in your own language, in so what I can say, Vanya, is that those skills, you have to be always updating them. Otherwise, um, I don't know if you're going to lose something, but because you are going to have more skills as well. So um, you don't you have to keep in mind what is um, to inform, what is to be journalist.
mhm.
This is what we have to keep in mind anytime. And after that, how am I going to do this? And this question is changing. Okay. In this case, my students have an ability incredible to do this very, very, very quickly in many ways.
Maybe the other issues is the cooperation between skills, different skills, because it's very hard to manage many skills at the same time or updating constantly your skills. So the organization of the work, right, in the newsroom is
Mhm.
the key is maybe to be able cooperate, organize, right, an integration for different skills.
Yeah. I agree. When I say that, I don't. For example, you can divide in many kind of skills. You can also divide, for example, people more related I don't know, with the video or with the social media or things like that. But so you can be divided as well. But you have to know what the others are talking about. But there is a very dangerous situation, is that the knowledge and the the real knowledge normally is a skill from the older journalists. So it's very, very important that the newsrooms keep old journalists with them, not because they are old, but because young people probably are not so able to deal with an amount of information that the older people build in for many, many years. So you have to keep older people as well. So it's a strange puzzle, but
Okay. But thank you very much, Paulo. I don't know if do we have any other questions or final remarks, comments for Paulo?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohamed. Do you have a question?
No. Just to talk. Thanks for the lecture. I'm interested. I'm
yeah,
very
welcome.
enjoy and a good lecture today, and we get to more information about multimedia, and we are to try to meet again another lecture. Thanks.
Okay,
Mohammed Ali from CERT.
you are welcome.
Yeah. That's good. It's good,
Thank you to be here.
topic, and that is good information today we get about this topic.
Thanks to be here. And you see at the final slide, I have my email. So if you have any kind of need about information or things like that, feel free to contact me, and or through Professor Vania or Unimed, or with the program
Yes.
pages. So feel free
Yeah.
to contact me. Okay.
Yesterday, I read more information about you, about your university and your department before to start the lecture today. How's
Okay.
Portugal there?
Sorry?
How's the weather there?
How do?
In
What
Portugal,
about
Porto.
The weather?
What about the weather? Yeah, it's good.
No, it's great. It's for me, it's great. It's about I don't know, 20 degrees today. It's shiny, so sunny, so it's okay. It's
You can
perfect.
spend holiday in Portugal.
Yeah, grazie. Thanks.
Yeah, welcome.
So greeting for our
Okay, well,
Thank you. I will stop
if we need
recording.
another. Yeah.